Well, good morning, councillors. Welcome to our final statutory meeting for the term of 2020-2024, and it definitely is the final council meeting for two of our councillors, Councillor Megan and Councillor Nancy, today, and it could be the final council meeting for all of us today. You never know. So let's make this a quality final meeting for us as a term for elected representatives, as we welcome all of those in the room, CEO Brian, and others that are watching online as well. This meeting is clearly open to the public. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's final meeting. I will start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, acknowledge the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Guyabal and Jarowa peoples. Pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's first people. Obviously, councillors, at the start of this meeting, as we do, we'd remind ourselves of our values of accountability, safety and well-being, teamwork, honesty and respect. We do have a deputation that's scheduled for today. Unfortunately, they don't seem to have arrived at this point, but I'm assured they are on their way. So councillors will move to item number 3, because there are a few declarations that we need to record at this point in time, and at that point hopefully we'll have others that will have arrived. Right, Councillor? Will have arrived at that time. First and foremost, we do not have any apologies, and clearly being our last statutory meeting, we won't need to record any leave of absence at this point, or granting of leave of absence. Now, there are some conflicts of interest. We'll start, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Rebecca, for a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm out of breath from running up the stairs. This relates to item 15.1, the confidential planning and environment court appeals and compensation claims for February 2024. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting of the 13th of February 2024, and of my decision to leave the meeting while the matter was discussed and voted on. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will leave and stay away from the meeting while this matter is discussed and voted on.
Thanks, Councillor Rebecca. Councillor Nancy.
Thank you, Chair. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting on the 13th of February 24, and of my decision to leave the meeting while the matter was discussed and voted on. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will leave and stay away from the meeting while this matter is discussed and voted on.
Thanks, Councillor Nancy. Councillor James.
Thanks, Mayor. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting of the 13th of February 2024, and of my decision to leave the meeting whilst the matter was discussed and voted on. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will leave and stay away from the meeting while this matter is discussed and voted on.
Thanks, Councillor James. Councillor Tim.
Thank you, Chair. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting on 13th of February 2024, and of Council's decision that I can participate in the decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will participate in the decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Thanks, Councillor Tim. Councillor Melissa.
Thank you, Chair. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting of 13th of February 2024, and of Council's decision that I can participate in a decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will participate in a decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Thanks, Councillor Melissa. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Declaration of declarable conflict of interest on the Planning and Environment Court appeals and compensation claims, February 2024. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting of the 13th of February 2024, and of Council's decision that I can participate in a decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will participate in a decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Carroll. I have a similar declaration, item 15.1, the Confidential Planning and Environment Court Appeals and Compensations Claims, February 2024. I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 5 at the Planning and Development Committee meeting on the 13th of February 2024, and of my decision to leave the meeting while the matter was discussed and voted on, as the relevant circumstances have not changed. I will leave and stay away from the meeting while this matter is discussed and voted on. Now, councillors, are there any other declarations? Councillor Bill.
Yes, Chair, I don't seem to have had a item from Kirsten, but I'll revisit item number 5 on the 13th of February at the Planning and Development Committee meeting. I request that it noted, I request it be noted that I previously declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to intersection at and related roadworks at Central Highfields, and of Council's decision to allow me to participate in the decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I'll participate in the decision about the matter including by voting on the matter.
Thanks, Councillor Bill. Councillors, is there any other declarations that anyone would like to make at this stage? If there's not, and if there are any that crop up either for yourself or you feel someone else may have a conflict, then certainly by way of protection of yourselves or another councillor, please let it be known at that point in time. Councillors, we'll now go back to item number 2, and we're very pleased today to welcome Dr. Jim Thompson, the Chief Executive Officer of Queensland Museums, and Renee Grace, who is the Executive Director, Museums and Engagement. I do have Steve Cooper down here as well. Jim, is Steve coming along at some point? He's parking the car? Okay, a bit foggy and rainy outside. Okay. Are you right to continue? Well, I'm more than happy to go to the next item of matters if you need Steve to be here. We've got the presentation. Kirsten has the presentation, Jim. So if you'd like to come forward, or if Renee's coming with you, whichever you prefer. Kirsten, can you just give Dr. Jim a quick 101 on the use of the device there? Just because this is live streamed, Jim, it's best to try and get onto that microphone, otherwise people won't hear it.
Yep.
Now, we have an option of a very highly technical device to lift that up, that microphone, which is otherwise known as a tissue box, which we can put underneath that and give you a bit more height there. So that makes it simple.
It's one of
Good
the
on you, Jim.
best systems I've seen.
Welcome, Jim. Common sense solutions, that's what we're about here. Good on you. Welcome, Jim. Very much appreciate you being here.
Look, thanks. When I was coming up today, I was thinking when the last time I was here, and I think it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago when I came and spoke early in my term as the CEO of the Queensland Museum Network at that time. We've changed our brand to the Queensland Museums. Very proud to be back and very proud to be talking about Cobb & Co, which is a critical part of what we offer the state, and very obviously a critical part of this town and the community that we're in. Our remit is to offer statewide services in the Queensland Museum, and we do that largely through our museum network, which is 4 museums. So the museum here, a museum in Townsville, a museum in Ipswich, in addition to the museum that we've got in Brisbane. It's a very important offering from the state government to the people of Queensland. Plus we have a range of other programs. Just looking at that history, the history here is really remarkable in relation to this museum. Obviously it was a community-built museum, and I think that's the message that I really want to continue to push today, is community-based museum that's been developed in 3 stages. In 1987, following the fire that resulted in the carriages being looking for a new home, the museum was opened in 1987. We refurbished the museum in 2001, stage 2, and we refurbished the museum again in 2010, so to be what it is today. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was really what might be the next steps for the museum. We've had a wonderful relationship with council here. It's the best of any organisation or any of our museums within Queensland in terms of the support of council, but also the support of the community here. We've got a Friends Committee that has been going for many years. Dennis Campbell has been the chair of that Friends Committee for 20 years, and that continuity and the support of that committee has been staggering over that time, and the Mayor has been a part of that committee for equally long period of time. So look, it's something that we're very proud of. We're very proud of what we've been able to contribute during that time in partnership with yourselves. And that looks back at some of the stories, and I think the other remarkable part about this story is the money that's been raised by the community here to allow us to build the next stages of the museum. And that's something that I do want to touch on about what might be the next stage of the museum in the future. So decades of collaboration here. We've had a shared vision about what Cobb & Co is and the culture and heritage that it offers this town. And again, with the Friends and with the council, we've always had that vision that actually everyone has lined up with, and have been very proud of that. We have enormous patronage at the museum, and I just wanted to reflect on that a little bit. They're the numbers at the museum since 2010. And what you'll see clearly is the pattern of high visitation, excuse me, high visitation up to when COVID hit, and then we dropped down, and then we've started to rebound again. And those numbers are really quite staggering in terms of regional communities, and I'll put that in perspective with some other regional communities. As you can see, those figures on the left, really I guess there's just two messages there. The first one is that the place is a place where people want to go to and meet people and talk. And you know, there were people lined up. We just left the museum now. There was a group lined up in the rain waiting to get in there and sit down and have their coffee. Now, some people will argue that's not what a museum is, but that is exactly what a community place of meeting is, and a community museum should be, so that people want to go there. And the other one that I want to talk about there is that 77% of our visitation is local. So it's the people that are here that continually come back to the museum. And the support we've had from council in the last 20 years in relation to financial support and other support has been one of the main reasons we've had that local visitation. There's a challenge with local visitation. If you've got a museum that's based on local visitation, you've got to keep changing things so that people come back. Unlike famous museums around the world, such as British Museum or the Louvre, where people go there as international tourists and they go there once and there's millions of them that'll keep coming. Community museums need to be exactly that. They need to be part of the community, and I think that shows in those figures. If you go back a couple of years and just look at the numbers that we did have a couple of years ago, this is close to being the most significant regional museum in Australia. It's not just Queensland. There's one that stands out there, the Bendigo Art Gallery. They, a few years ago, and that's not a museum, it's an art gallery, but they went through a process of reinventing themselves and really putting themselves on a world stage. Quite an incredible job that they've done, and they call it the Bendigo effect in terms of what it actually did for the town. We're halfway there in some ways in relation to what Cobb & Co is for this town, and you can see regional museums around Australia generally have just on 100,000 or less than 100,000. We think we're heading here up to, now that we're back on that trajectory, up to 180,000 by the Olympics. And the museum itself is no longer, wouldn't be big enough to host and hold 180,000 people a year. But at 130,000, which we had just before COVID, the place is heaving at various times of the year. We've got a lot of variety at the museum, and that's one of the tricks. You can't, as I said before, you can't just stay still. You've got to have different things happening, and that comes down to programming and exhibitions and events. And they're the things that we have to keep bringing to Toowoomba in consultation or in partnership with both the council and the community. Some examples of things last year. Have another look. Captain Cook has run for 10 years. It's been the focused program on First Nations education, with more than 1,500 school kids coming to that program every year for 10 years. We had exhibitions like Queensland to a Tea this year, which was about tea towels. It doesn't seem like the most exciting thing, but it's actually a really great show about the state of Queensland and the way Queensland looks at itself. Same Sky, Different Clouds was a very focused program here about the multicultural nature of Toowoomba, and again, it was here because this is the type of community that wanted to see that. And then walking through a songline is an interesting one. First Nations, of course, but the Cobb and Co trails were actually, in effect, following the songlines of the past. So there's some rich histories that you can overlay with each other. But again, that's really about trying to make sure there's something new and different happening every year. And again, this year we've got the same sort of variety of things. We obviously are very much part of the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers. There is no doubt that the success of Cobb & Co is partly due to where it is. It's in a wonderful spot. And part of the cafe effect is that people want to go there and have a coffee or have morning tea. And it's a place that's not in the city. You can get there easily, you can park. But having said that, they also want to see some of these other programs, and these are the things that we'll be bringing this year. So there'll be weaving workshops in our gallery. Again, that's a program so that people can turn up and do something and be activated there, and that's part of the concept of the workshops and the trades that we value greatly. The World Science Festival will be coming back this year. School holiday programs will continue in every school holiday period. But this year we also have the opportunity for Cobb 100, and it's celebrating the centenary of Cobb & Co.'s final journey, which took place on the 14th of August, 100 years ago today. Now that will be celebrated in great way at Surat and Yulbar, and we won't take over the work that they're going to be doing, but we want to celebrate here in Toowoomba. So we've got a week-long program of events that we want to bring here. We want to have coach availability for people to see. We want train rides and everything that goes with that. So that's really the focus for this year. We're really excited about being able to celebrate that. And finally, I just wanted to say that we haven't got an exact plan for this, but we've been looking at options for the future, and that's just potentially something that might whet the appetite for us to look at what the plan and partnership can be over the next 10 years. As I said before, if we have 180,000 people that want to go to that museum by the time of the Olympics, and let's hope that's the case, then we need to expand the museum. That's not a knock-down rebuild, it's an extension again. This museum has been extended 3 times, and we're saying that we could extend further, and we'd love to do that. That's not a commitment that anybody's made, but it's something that we talk to the Friends Committee about, and we talk to government about what might be the possibility in the future. I might leave it there, Jeff, in terms of just a quick summary of where we are. I just really want to say thank you. The support that you give us as a museum allows free entry for locals to come to the museum and allows us to put on some of that programming and shows that we couldn't do without the support. And it's not just financial support, it's the support of the community and yourselves in terms of the way that works. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim, and welcome to Steve as well. Thank you, Steve, for coming up. Well known to everyone in this room, I would well imagine. Councillors, you have time just for a few questions, if there are any. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Perhaps not a question. Thank you very much. It's very exciting. We're very proud of Cobb & Co and the work that they do and have done. Interesting with the Surat to Yulbar, my grandmother's family used to supply horses, and perhaps they might have been the mounts that we used for the last, who knows, but it's very nice to think that they could have been, and I look very much forward to the celebrations later this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. I just point out again, I did point it out in those numbers, but we've got 3 museums. This museum, just before COVID, was getting 130,000 people a year. Ipswich, which is a much bigger community, and Townsville were at about 90,000. And you often wonder why, and that's part of this let's be the best regional museum we can be in Australia. Why does it work here? There's many reasons, but it does work differently here, and I think that's something that we can be really proud of.
Thank you, and I acknowledge Steve and the team there as well. Councillor Tim, Councillor Megan, Councillor Edwina. Did you have your hand?
Thanks.
No? Oh, you were scratching. Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Tim, Councillor Megan.
Look, thanks very much for your presentation. We love Cobb & Co. My daughter was filled with great joy around the breakfast table this morning when she told me her class is going on an excursion there in the next month, and I said, well, look, good to see there's still excitement in the younger generation about Cobb & Co, because that's what we were doing. We go there regularly as a family. Front part, science room, the usual exhibitions, love it. The back part with horse and carts and all that, I know it's an important part of our history, but kind of not as much of a draw for my family, to be honest. Are there any plans around that?
I guess the answer to that is you've got those important exhibitions that you'll always have, and Cobb & Co's built on those exhibitions. But you're right, it's really important that a museum offers the variety that I spoke about and doesn't just sit on what it's got. So we're always trying to plan for new things so that the same people can come back and enjoy it. And again, that's the important part of having a museum that's based on a local community. They need to see new things, they need to come back. Yes, they might bring visitors to see the coaches and other things, but that is a static part of a museum and it's got a place, but we want the museum to be much more lively than that. So we are planning for a whole range of new programs and shows and events into the future.
Follow up?
Thanks very much for the answer. Next door, every Saturday, there's quite a vibrant farmers market, and there's locals and tourists alike at that, and it's a very good cross-pollination. So are you working with them on, you're at the market, stop in for a...
You can probably see in the design there that area is now taken up by the museum. I guess we are looking at what our role is in the future, and certainly events and markets are part of what we think we can offer. That would depend on that piece of land or the partnership with TAFE about how we might use that, but absolutely want to make sure that those markets and those opportunities for people to be able to sell whatever it might be, whether it's food or whether it's crafts or other things, remains part of this area, because that has been and still is an important part of what's offered there.
Thank you. Councillor Megan and Councillor Edwina. Definitely. Councillor Carey.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge, thank you, Steve. You're not Steve, you're Jim. I wanted to acknowledge Steve Cooper and the work that you do, Steve, because I think a lot of that success is really attributed to you and your team, because, I think you've just sort of brought it into another stratosphere. I love the Tea Towel exhibition, but what I wanted to know was the structure of the other 4 museums with Townsville and Ipswich. Do they have free for locals as well?
They've got various components of free for locals, but no, they don't. And we would love to have a model across the state that is free for locals. The model in Brisbane is free for locals, but you pay for exhibitions, and in a way that's the way we'd like to see the future. But the problem for us is that a museum such as Cobb & Co, and to be honest, Townsville, doesn't have a big enough gallery to bring in the sort of shows where someone might pay $20 or $25 to go to that show. So we are looking at how we can change that model across the state. We would love to be able to say, and museums across the world in many cases have been free. That doesn't mean it should be free these days, but we are actually trying to work towards that so that there's equity of access to what is the Queensland Museum, and it should be something that everyone has that right to go to. We do get criticised significantly that regional museums you have to pay for, but in Brisbane you don't, and I fully understand that sentiment.
Councillor Megan, the Councillor Edwina.
Thank you, Chair. Jim, thank you for that, and thank you for everything that you and the Cobb & Co do, and I reiterate, we also thank Steve for everything that he does and has done. Just before COVID, you used to always have a Lost Trades program, and is there any plan of bringing that back?
That program, which was invented in Victoria and run out of Victoria, was a company that we partnered with. We obviously had a big investment in Lost Trades ourselves, so it worked perfectly for us, but they've pulled out of that. They only offer that in other parts now, not in Queensland. So at this stage, Lost Trades in that form wouldn't come back. It was a great show, there's no doubt, and we'd love to have that type of event again, but it might have to be something that we do ourselves rather than in partnership with them in the scheme, in the way that they did it before.
Yeah, because I know that there's a lot of people in the community that really loved those Lost Trades and learning, and
it's very dear to our hearts, you know, in terms of this museum, because this museum always talks about the lost trades, particularly around coach making, and so it was a perfect fit for us. But unfortunately, COVID wrecked their ability to take that round. So it's now set up in Victoria in a sort of semi-permanent way, and they've stayed there. Yep.
Okay. Be nice to see if we could bring something back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do something ourselves. Thank you.
Yep.
I mean, the success of the workshops that Cobb and Co hold, wheel riding and other things, it's blacksmithing, it's part of that DNA, isn't it? Councillor Kerry.
Thanks, Jim, for your presentation and your regular attendances in Toowoomba at functions at Cobb and Co and elsewhere here. Just relevant to our performance compared with Townsville and Ipswich, reminds me of when I think it was the last extension, the fundraising campaign that went ahead with that, and trying to get the Bligh government on side wasn't all that easy, and we had a tremendous committee that was formed up here, led by Mary Wagner, a very formidable advocate for any cause, and but that was, I think, the fact that the community itself was involved, as well as the government who owns the museum, might be a factor in its success, as it's our museum as opposed to Queensland museums.
No, it's a really good point. The model worked brilliantly here in terms of the community being part of that fundraising, and that was able to put pressure on government because of that. Interestingly, Townsville, which was built on the Pandora shipwreck, which was the ship that was sent to get the Bligh mutineers, it's still the feature of the Townsville Museum, and the Townsville community came together to raise funds in the same way up there. But they haven't been as successful in terms of, or they got the museum built, but they haven't really stayed as part of the museum. Many of them have moved on. So but it is a great model, and one of the things that's unique to here. I mean, I often talk about this as the jewel in the crown of our regional museums, and it's not just because it gets 130,000 people. It's because the community really support it, and that's the future. There's no doubt.
Thank you. Councillor Bill.
Thanks, Chair. Jim, you guys might already be doing this, but I wonder if there's an opportunity to explore here around regional tourism and combining in. I'm very I'm a car enthusiast, classic car enthusiast, and there are events, significant events, and they bring significant amounts of tourism. We've got one next weekend.
Yep.
And they come from Victoria, New South Wales, all over Queensland. I think there was some that come from Western Australia one year. But I guess how we might combine with those regular events, you've mentioned the carnival, but to be a draw card for those events and give enthusiasts, and there are some real freaks there, enthusiasts that would travel to see artefacts, and I call them artefacts because to car enthusiasts they are. And I wonder if there's not an opportunity to explore how that plays off those calendar events. Not necessarily every year, but once in a while.
I think,
is there opportunity to
absolutely.
do that?
I think they can be every year, and I think, as you said, there's many thousands of people are going to be coming this weekend for the car show that's on there now. We've got a car sitting in front of the museum to celebrate that event this weekend. And, the future here, in some ways, when you look back at those figures, when I said 77% were locals, we do want to say, we do want to attract other people, and that's about the tourism opportunities that sit here in Toowoomba. We want Cobb and Co to be seen as the premier tourist attraction of Toowoomba, but we also need to work with Tourism Events Queensland and other tourism bodies to actually put us on a trail that takes us to places. But there's no doubt that people that we want to get to Toowoomba need to have somewhere to go, and we think Cobb and Co is a part of that. Now, Steve's a very experienced tourism operator, and that's where his background is, and he's made giant strides in taking us forward in those areas, and that's something we absolutely have to look at. And again, if people do come here in numbers for the 2032 Olympics, we want lots of people coming up here, and we want them saying, well, if you're going to go to Toowoomba, you've got to go to Cobb and Co. So
yeah, and look, I know that the Rodders you're referring to is even for others with the I'm part of the VW fraternity, and I'm thinking because it's drive tourism.
Yes. Yeah.
And whether it's co-located on that site, unfortunately, didn't work with TAFE, whatever. But these people love to drive their machinery, and it would be a really nice anchor point, a reference point for the region to have Cobb & Co. For these enthusiasts in their droves to come and look at some really unique artefacts on display for a period of time there.
And rarely do you get an opportunity to visit a town as large as Toowoomba, to have a museum that's so centrally located in such a picturesque part of the city and has enough room for things like car shows and things around it. So, you know, we do have a lot of benefits already there, and it's about maximising those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, thanks.
absolutely. Great point.
Thanks. Councillor Carroll, and we'll
Thank you,
wrap
Mr
it
Mayor.
up.
Thank you for having, I forgot this, Jim. Thank you very much for your presentation. Being one of the councillors that bought the free entry to council many years ago, I'm very proud. My reasons for doing that was so our locals would be able to visit there no matter what their circumstance with their children, and be educated by the displays and different things that happen there. And I'm proud that we do that. But I'm also aware of my friend Cheryl has been involved with Steve, I think, with some things going forward. So there are some exciting initiatives coming forward, and I look forward to that as well. So we can do both.
Yes.
The local education, the local involvement, and the tourism bits as well. And hopefully with something like this, a dream for the future, you will have that gallery where you can attract the larger exhibitions, and people be more than happy to pay for them.
Yeah, that's right.
I know I would. But also I'd love to see that green space at the back kept for
Great.
things like outdoor exhibitions and things like that. So I think I have to congratulate you, particularly Steve. Managers before him, but Steve's taken it to another level, and I think engaging with the community, and the staff there are fantastic, and the volunteers. So, you know, thank you very
Thank
much,
you for
and
support.
congratulations to you all.
Thank you for saying that, and it is a great team there. And look, the future is that we want equity of access, and that's why the council initially supported this concept, and there was a bit of foresight in that, and thank you for being part of that decision, because it really makes a difference. And if everyone in the town can go there, then that's a major start. Yep.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if we did a survey how many people know that they do get free entry into the museum, how many know that, to be fair. We all think everyone knows it, but I'm not sure that they do. That aside, Jim, thank you very much to you, and Renee and Steve, thanks for coming along as well. I know we've got a friends meeting at 1 p.m. I made an apology today, and I've sent that through earlier. But I think this year, with the 100 year, the anniversary, centenary of the Cobb & Co coach, will give you another opportunity to bring the museum into the community rather than the community to the museum. And I think that provides great opportunity. And naturally, I have a passion, and I've mentioned to Steve since his arrival there, of one day perhaps having, you know, horse and carriage rides through potentially Queen's Park or through the city at some point, which would be quite a draw card for many things as well. But that's a fair stretch to get to that point. But we need to be aspirational, Steve, don't we?
Absolutely.
Good on you. Thank you, Jim.
Okay,
very much appreciated.
Thank you very
Give Jim
much.
a round of applause. Thanks. Councillors, we move then to item number 3, which is the attendance, including, we've done that. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes. The first of which is the ordinary meeting of council on the 20th of February 2024. Everyone was present, and the motion is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council dated 20 February 2024 be confirmed. Have someone moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Carroll. Those in favour? That motion is carried. Thank you. We'll then move to the special meeting, which was the consideration and adoption of the budget, 23-24 January budget review, 27 February. All were present, and the motion is that the minutes of the special meeting of council dated 27 February 2024 be confirmed. Have someone move that? Moved by Councillor Edwina, seconded by Councillor Megan. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. The final meeting to receive the minutes is the special meeting of council on the 28th of February, and that the minutes of the special meeting of council dated 28th of February be confirmed. Someone move that? Moved by Councillor Tim, seconded by Councillor James. Those in favour? Motion's carried. All right. Item number 5, business arising from minutes. Is there any business arising from those minutes? If not, we move to item 6, which is the presentation of petitions. Does anyone have any petitions? At this stage, I'm unaware of any that are coming forward. If not, we move to item 7, which is business of which the Mayor wishes to have considered this meeting without notice. There is no mayoral minute today, councillors. Item number 8, then we move to is the monthly financial performance statement, and I'll invite General Manager Anne-Marie Johnson to come forward to present the monthly performance statement as at the 28th of February. Welcome, Anne-Marie.
Good morning, councillors. So the purpose of this report is to provide you with the monthly performance as at the 29th of February. So we ran the reports in February. Reports were released on Friday. So the team are still reconciling. So I've got some comments on the variances, but I may have to take some questions on notice. If we go to page 12 of 223, where this report first starts, page 13 highlights the February implications. So unrestricted cash expense ratio at the end of February was 5 months against the department's sustainability guideline of 2 months. So unrestricted cash at 137 million. And noting, council, that rates are due tomorrow, so we expect to see significant increase in that figure tomorrow. As usual, the DRFA report is provided at attachment 4. The consolidated financial performance statement is from page 21. Operating income tracking to budget with a variance of less than 1% or 644,000. So water consumption, as I've reported previously, water consumption contributes to that rates variance, as does the fact that discount hasn't been levied yet. So there's some changes to happen in there. So we're still looking at on track. We usually have higher water consumption the second reading, but obviously we've had plenty of rain, so that could continue to track below budget. And fees and charges tracking significantly above budget. Some of that is a timing issue, so we haven't had a chance to adjust budgets because of the tight turnaround with the reporting. But we have noticed dog registrations tracking much higher than originally anticipated. Road maintenance performance contracts are also tracking ahead of budget at this time. So with that fees and charges figure, some of that may carry through to the end of financial year, but we're continuing to look at our forecasting. Operating expenditure tracking 1% overall, below budget, 3.8 million, and really no areas of concern at this stage in any component of operational expenditure. Moving on to the capital, we can see there that grants 2.8 million or 20% below budget. This again is a timing issue relating to flood recovery works. So again, not anticipating a long-term variance, just timing. Infrastructure charges, they are tracking below budget, so we're tracking below where we anticipated they would be this time of the year. So again, that's just a watch and view for the remainder of this financial year. With our contributed assets, I did report last month that we're tracking in capitalising contributed assets only, but at this stage, we do anticipate that full 20 million will be capitalised by the end of May, June, which is our target date. But I suppose one the councillors will be concerned about is our capital expenditure at 85 million against a year-to-date target of 113.2 million. So there is a 25% variance there. Each general manager had an opportunity to review their capital works at the budget review 2 process, which the minutes have just been adopted, and there wasn't. So with the exception of 10 million in water projects, which are just strictly a timing issue, so the projects are still on track, but we know those payments won't be made until the new financial year. Every general manager is still confident that that full revised budget of 205 million will be delivered by the 30th of June. So very happy to take any questions, and again I apologise for not getting some of that commentary out earlier, just the timing was against me.
No, thank you, Anne-Marie. That's for all GMs who have obviously brought this meeting forward significantly to what it would normally be, so understanding the time with some of and the reporting does mention some of that as well at a point in time we go through. Any questions, councillors, for Anne-Marie? Councillor Kerry?
Thanks, Anne-Marie, for your report. Just in relation to the rates being due tomorrow, just wondering, is it normal practice, or would you accede to a request that a reminder be sent out by way of a press release today, just advising people that that is the last day to pay their rates? It might be welcome, bearing in mind the cost of living crisis that families are in at the moment.
Yes, I'm happy to take that one on notice. We've got Jason here from the media team, so happy to put out that notice with the last date to pay rates to benefit from the discount.
Thanks. Councillor Kerry, any other questions for Anne-Marie? If there's no other questions, the motion then is before us that the monthly... Sorry, is that nothing? That the monthly financial performance statement for the period ending 28th of February be the 29th of February, I'd imagine that one, wouldn't it? You ran it up?
We ran the reports first thing Thursday morning to make the agenda on Friday, so it is for the period ending the 29th, but we actually ran the reports on the 28th. Is that okay?
So you have with the motion that the 28th of February. That's one day prior to the end of February. Okay. Motion is before us. Councillor Kerry, Councillor Edwina. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, Anne-Marie, very much indeed. We move then to item number 9, councillors, which is the CEO's monthly report. Chief Executive Officer, hand over to you, Brian.
Thank you, councillors. You've got the reports in there with the 2 attachments: organisational culture improvement initiatives action plan tracker, and also the employee relations report. Have you take it as read and answer any questions in relation to those? Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Questions, councillors, in regard to the CEO's report? The organisation culture. It seems like we only did this yesterday, and it pretty well is, because it's only a couple of weeks ago that we were here. But any questions, councillors, in regard to Councillor Nancy?
Thank you, Chair. If I could, I wondered, Brian, you were going to get some legal advice about whether a budget decision could outdo a council decision or override a council decision.
It depends on the order of decisions that are being made. Whether the council decision follows the budget decision, you can always amend a budget with a further decision, so it's pretty clear you don't really need any further advice in relation to that one.
Yeah, so just recollection was the $2 million for unformed roads was a council law decision, and there was an indication that that $2 million wouldn't be in next year's budget, which would override that very important council decision.
That's right. A subsequent decision after that was not to fund that initiative. Well, the budget as it is, we have not the funding to actually initiate or proceed with the council decision on that basis.
We're talking about the 24-25 budget. So the council decision remains that it's $2 million per year for 5 years.
That's right.
And if there's a change in that process, officers would bring that to, and council would have to decide whether they would agree or not with that change. So it would be a council decision at that time.
Again, thanks. I appreciate that clarification.
Yep.
I also got an email from you on the 20th of the 2nd saying that you were going to get legal advice on providing the exit interview redacted report.
Yes, that's right. You got advice from me, correct?
Now, we were waiting on advice.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that advice to come through. Sorry, I missed that question, yeah.
Okay. well, hopefully a future councillor will follow that up. I've raised quite a few times about about not getting responses to emails in appropriate times or responded at all. On the 9th of February, I sent you what I thought was a very important email. It was in relation to a legal matter we were dealing with, and I said I have continually raised concerns about how this resident is being treated and the management of his issues. I have felt for a long time that council has not been doing the right thing. I won't go any further about that. Given these circumstances, can you advise what my options are, please? And I've never received a response from you, not even an acknowledgement or any advice.
I'll check that. I thought I'd actually sent the response through to you in relation to that one, but I'll follow it through for you.
Thank you. I just shouldn't have to ask for them, and I've had to do it all the time, Brian,
Well,
and it's been very disappointing.
Well, CEO will follow up on that, those couple of things as well. Councillor Nancy, do you have any other questions at this point? No. Any other questions for the CEO? Councillor Rebecca.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, I just want to go back to the first or second question that Councillor Summerfield asked about the $2 million in the road funding. Because when, Brian, when you answered, I thought I heard you said that there had been a council decision to override, in the budget, to override that council decision about the 2 million. And then I just I was confused about where we actually are with that, because my understanding is that there's been a council decision to spend $2 million on those roads, full stop. Is that where we stand?
There is, but a subsequent decision to that in the budget, you didn't fund that. So if that's the case, we've got no funds to expend in relation to that matter.
So that $2 million is not there. Is that what you're saying?
I think we're getting confused here. We're in the current 23-24 year, and there's $2 million in this budget. We're looking for the next year. We haven't even considered the budget for next year. So if council officers come back and they're trying to fit everything into the budget, and one of those areas they say, look, councillors, one of the areas that we're struggling to fit in is this $2 million commitment, that's a council decision.
Yes.
It means something else may go out. So I think there's a bit of confusion here.
Yeah, I think the confusion to my mind is the tense. You're talking, Mayor, about future tense, that there will be that discussion, but the CEO, it sounds like current tense, past tense, there has been a decision.
I'll just seek some clarity from the GM of ISG in relation to what's sitting in the current year's budget, if that's what you need clarification on.
Thank you, I'd appreciate that.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, and good morning, councillors. As per my group report we'll talk about shortly, the low water roads program for this financial year is progressing as council resolved, which is $2 million this financial year, this current financial year. So that hasn't changed. Noted in today's group report, progressing as planned.
So hopefully that's got clarification. What we haven't done is, the council needs to consider the 24-25 budget yet. So that's the next phase. Thanks, Mike. Any other questions for the CEO at this point? Councillor Nancy.
Sorry, I did forget one. The General Manager of Water and Waste position, I'm just wondering, has that been advertised yet? I think they finished up in November or December. Just wondering if that important position has been advertised yet.
I don't think it's actually gone out public at this stage. It's very close to going out.
Okay. Perhaps you might be able to just inform us at some point when that is out, because sometimes we don't see that come out. Right. Any other questions, councillors, in regard to the CEO's report? If not, there is a motion before us that the Chief Executive Officer's monthly report be received. Can someone move that? Moved by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Tim. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Okay, item number 10, Mayor's monthly report. Councillors, that is there for your for your reading. Two items of interest, of course. We're fortunate to have the company of Senator Anthony Chisholm, and we were able to advocate around the dam safety upgrade and ask some questions around Inland Rail. And the second of which is as part of the mayoral report, is to simply thank all of you for the last 4 years, given that it's been 4 years of significant change, kicking off with COVID, and then, of course, with the retirement of former Mayor Councillor Paul Antonio after 42 and a half years, and then the welcoming of new councillor Edwina Farquhar as well over the last 5 months or so. But also wanted to stress, of course, that our role as the strategic arm, and if you like to put it into a corporate world, the board of directors of this organisation, and our strategic direction then follows through to the operational arm of council led by the CEO, executive leadership team, and down to all staff across the council. And I'm sure you'll all agree, councillors, given the challenges of employment, the numbers of vacancies across council, the effort by council staff, and particularly around critical infrastructure when things happen that, you know, we don't like to see happen, all hands are on deck to help out. So I just wanted to pass on my personal thanks to each of you, and also on behalf of us to that of the staff as well. Are there any questions in regard to the mayoral report?